Next on Currents News, team coverage of the Fifth National Encuentro in Texas.
I'm Tim Harfman, standing by in Texas, where thousands of clerics and lay leaders are discussing the future of the Hispanic ministry in the Catholic Church. One of many topics, the youth. That story is coming up.
And the Pope is about to take off on a mission of freedom. He's heading to the Baltics. I'll preview the trip with the Crux correspondent who is flying on the Pope's plane.
I miss my buddy on the moon. How are you? How are you? Great.
The inspiring story of a young girl with a new heart and what she's doing for others. The news starts right now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Faublas. The Fifth National Encuentro is a big building block to the future of the Catholic Church in America. Currents News' Tim Harfman is standing by in Grapevine, Texas, to report on the steps being taken to get more young people involved. Tim.
Yes, Liz, teenagers and kids may not be attending this conference, but they're certainly on the minds of everyone here. The role of young Hispanics in the church is one of the key topics being discussed. Thousands of clerics and lay leaders packed this Texas Convention Center to strengthen the Hispanic ministry, and they're turning to the next generation to guide them.
The church is young, and because the church is young, the church has a future.
Of the 3,000 representatives at this National Fifth Encuentro or Encounter, 30% are under the age of 35. They, along with nearly 100 bishops in attendance, want to address the obstacles young Hispanics face in the U.S. Catholic Church.
One of the greatest challenges among young people are they don't feel they belong to anyone for a very long time, all right? And so and that's in the culture. The church has to offer a sense of belonging, like a family.
What can we do to help heal a lot of the wounds that our young people have? What can we do to open the doors for the Hispanic young people in order to help minister to their parents and, God willing, to their kids? So they're right now the pivotal point.
There are nearly 30 million Hispanic Catholics in the United States. A third of them are under the age of 18, according to the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. Bishop Michael Olson of Fort Worth, Texas, says one solution to overcome challenges is young people must be willing to change in order to continue growing in the faith.
Sometimes we approach the church as too consumer friendly. All right, in other words, I want what I want when I want it, and I want it to fit me. Well, that's an adolescent view of morality, and it's an adolescent view of life.
Another idea from the Catholic leader of Miami, Archbishop Thomas Wensky, a suggestion to simply welcome young Hispanics and allow them to lead.
We can open our parishes, our schools, our apostolic movements to the talents and the gifts of young Hispanics. They will participate and they will contribute.
And by 2050, there are expected to be over 130 million Hispanics living in the United States, according to the national census. With a majority of them being Catholic, this National Fifth Encuentro looks to the young Hispanics to lead the future of the ministry. In Grapevine, Texas, Tim Harfman, Currents News. Liz, back to you in Brooklyn.
All right, Tim, thank you so much. You know, the Pope sent a video message to the delegates and bishops at the Encuentro. He pointed to one group benefiting greatly from the national meeting.
Sé que el proceso de este quinto encuentro confortó a muchos inmigrantes que viven en situaciones de temor y de incertidumbre. El quinto encuentro les ha brindado un mayor sentido de comunidad, amistad, apoyo.
Francis also called the Encuentro an instrument of grace that converts hearts. And as we continue our coverage of the Encuentro, joining me now is Editor-in-Chief for the tablet and Nuestra Voz, Jorge Dominguez, who's also standing by in Texas. Jorge, thank you so much for joining us. Listen, we've heard the latest news about today's Encuentro, but are people excited about what's scheduled for the weekend?
Oh yes, Liz, they are. I mean, you can feel it in every meeting. I talked to Cruz Teresa, one of the delegates from Brooklyn today, and I said, Teresa, how do you feel about Encuentro? And she just said to me, it's a dream come true. And that's how a lot of people here feel. It has been a long time since the last Encuentro, and the Hispanic community was more than ready for this. I have to tell you something. I mean, all that happened during this summer in the Catholic Church, this is present too, and you can feel it too. And people mention that in the conversation. But the general atmosphere here is one of happiness and celebration.
Jorge, in the conversations that we've had, we've looked at the growing population of Hispanic and Latino Catholics, now at 40% of church members in the U.S. Are they prepared to take on the big responsibility of becoming the majority demographic in the Catholic Church?
Liz, I think that's still, for me, at least, is a question that is still on the air. Nevertheless, I have been so wrong about so many things here. I'm so happy about being wrong. For example, we were talking today with delegates and with bishops and with the religious women about the role of the Hispanics and how they can integrate in the Catholic Church. There is a growing conscience that this is not anymore a minority, and that, by the way, the Hispanic Catholics have to do sacrifices too if they want to integrate into the leadership of the church. I had a very interesting conversation today with Bishop Olson from Fort Worth. And he told me something very strong. He said, and I'm saying this, remember, I am the bishop of a diocese where 55% of the people are Hispanic. And he said, if the Hispanic community wants to be fully integrated, they are going to have to let go of a lot of things that are dear to them, but that, sometimes, stop them from integrating in just one church in the United States. And then Archbishop Gomez from Los Angeles, said something very interesting in that regard too. He said, we have to realize, and we say he was referring to Hispanics. Right. He said, we have to realize that the young people are speaking in English, not in Spanish. We have to move on. We have to take care of, we have to take conscious that there's a new generation. It's a different generation from the last Encuentro.
All right, Jorge, thank you so much. And it's good to hear you talk about the youth, because I know that is something that they want to keep in the church. Thank you so much for joining us. To find the latest on the rest of the Fifth Encuentro throughout the weekend, be sure to visit the Tablet website at thetablet.org and Nuestra Voz at nuestra-voz.org. 2 more bishops in Chile are being replaced after the Pope accepted their resignations this morning. All of the country's bishops resigned after meeting Francis at the Vatican months ago. So far, 7 have been accepted. The latest 2, Christian Contreras and Carlos Pellegrin, are accused of sexually abusing minors. Pennsylvania's Attorney General Josh Shapiro is saying a hotline for reporting clerical sex abuse has received more than 1,000 calls in its first month. The phone system was set up after a grand jury found decades of abuse by clergy at 6 Pennsylvania dioceses. The Brooklyn Diocese has a confidential sexual abuse reporting line. The number in a moment. It's one of several important measures to help identify and prevent wrongdoing. Under the leadership of Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio, the Office of Victim Assistance has been established to help individuals who come forward with allegations of abuse. The office provides many resources, including counseling and referrals for therapy. Also, every employee of the diocese, including students, undergoes mandatory training designed to spot the signs of abuse and how to stop it. The bishop meets with survivors. He listens to them carefully. One result of those talks is the annual Mass of Hope and Healing in the diocese, with Bishop DiMarzio presiding. As for that sexual abuse reporting line in the diocese, it is confidential and toll-free. The number is 888-634-4499. And for more information, go to the Diocese of Brooklyn website, dioceseofbrooklyn.org, and click on Protecting Our Children. A report in the New York Times late today claimed Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein suggested secretly recording President Trump and discussed invoking the 25th Amendment to remove Trump from office. The newspaper published a statement from Rosenstein that said, quote, The New York Times story is inaccurate and factually incorrect. I will not further comment on a story based on anonymous sources. According to the Times, the incidents took place in 2017, and reporting officials said Rosenstein made the comments sarcastically. New twists and turns tonight in the battle to get Judge Brett Kavanaugh confirmed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Emily Schmidt reports the latest developments.
At 8:56 Friday morning, Washington time, President Trump started a Supreme Court tweet storm. It started praising Judge Brett Kavanaugh, calling him a fine man facing partisan assault. 18 minutes later, tweet 2 moved to Christine Blasey Ford, who alleges Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her at a party when they were teens. Trump tweeted if the attack was as bad as Ford said, she or her loving parents would have filed charges with local law enforcement. 15 minutes after that, he wondered why someone didn't call the FBI 36 years ago. 3 tweets changed a week-long White House narrative. Listen to what counsel Kellyanne Conway said about Ford just before those tweets went out.
There's no reason to attack her is the reason. There's no reason.
Across Washington, Kavanaugh's supporters stuck to more traditional defenses. Women colleagues and friends vouched for his character.
The reason that we know that this allegation is false is because we know Brett Kavanaugh.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell told Republicans accusations will not derail the nomination.
You've watched the fight, you've watched the tactics, but here's what I want to tell you. In the very near future, Judge Kavanaugh will be on the United States Supreme Court.
Sources say the Senate Judiciary Committee will propose a Wednesday hearing, with Ford testifying first and outside counsel asking the questions. Negotiations continue, so have Trump tweets, including one hours after the first series saying, let Ford testify or not, and take the vote. In Washington, Emily Schmidt, Currents News.
In Mexico, almost 2,000 people have been evacuated from their homes. A tropical depression has caused severe flooding in the state of Sinaloa. Government officials there declared a state of emergency for 11 municipalities and suspended all academic activities in areas that were most affected by the intense rains. The Caring Catholics of Brooklyn are helping hurricane relief efforts for the Carolinas. St. Finbarr's Church in Brooklyn is asking for donations of cleaning supplies and tools for recovery efforts. Donations can be dropped off inside the church until September 30th. There's a lot more news headed your way.
But I forgive that man.
A brave Christian mother's response to the murder of her daughter. And another act of forgiveness. A pastor speaks after his church is vandalized and KKK is scrawled across the Bible. I'll preview the Pope's special journey to the Baltics with the Crux correspondent flying on the papal plane. And do you have a story idea, something happening in your parish we should know about? Because we want to hear from you. Keep this email handy, newstips@desalesmedia.org. We'll be right back. A vigil in Washington for the devout Christian brutally murdered while she was on a jog. Wendy Martinez was stabbed to death. Police have charged Anthony Crawford with first-degree murder and say he has a criminal past. Wendy's brother and mother remembered her at the candlelit ceremony with Mom Cora forgiving the killer.
My heart has been broken in 1,000 pieces. But I forgive that man because I know it wasn't him. It was somebody else. It was evil being incarnated in him.
It's really hard to explain how I feel right now. Wendy, I love you, and I know that you're in a better place, and I know that you're looking up on us, and we have a lot of dreams that we're still going to accomplish, and I'll see you, afterwards.
Wendy was murdered only days after she became engaged. Her mom said she'll be buried in her wedding dress. A horrific hate crime at a Tennessee church where a group of boys defaced a Christian church. Kathleen Jacob has that report.
Psalms 18 says, I will love thee, O Lord, my strength.
Pastor Richard Seidert has considered this sanctuary home for the past 38 years. Deputies say 14 boys ages 14 to 16 broke into this church Tuesday, stole a laptop and video camera, then left disturbing, racially charged messages.
For someone to go to this extent, desecrate the Bible, and write that in their KKK. And I said, wow, this is really going too far.
He says they also left this white gown, used a fire extinguisher all over the floors, and left this message: they're white and they're watching.
And I was really kind of frightened. What could have happened if someone had encountered them in here? Because you never know in these days and time.
For 85 years, this church has been Elder James Mitchell's sacred place.
This is my roots right here at Walnut.
Seeing the hate on these walls and knowing it came from kids breaks his heart.
That's the work of the devil.
But even through the hate, the people of this church have a message of love.
That God is still in control. And the fact that even though they did this act, you have to show some kind of empathy toward them because they are misguided. And they learned that from somewhere or somebody.
Hoping their forgiveness will change the lives and the hearts of the boys responsible.
The Rutherford County Sheriff's Office has now charged 4 juveniles with burglary, theft, and vandalism in this case. Vatican Secretary of State Pietro Parolin is anxiously awaiting an agreement between China and the Holy See.
Yes, we hope that it will not take too long for this agreement to be signed. We have been working for this for years.
Cardinal Parolin said there are no plans for the Pope to visit China. He added that the Holy Father's journey to the Baltics this weekend will be an important mission. Faith and culture correspondent for Crux, Claire Jean Gravet, will be on the plane with the Holy Father as he flies to the Baltics this weekend, but she joins us now from Rome. Claire, thank you so much for being here. Now, we know that Pope Francis chooses his papal trips very wisely. Each journey has a mission and a purpose. Why did the Holy Father choose to visit the Baltics?
Well, it's true that the Holy Father has a very keen eye on where he's going to go. It's also true, Liz, that he goes where he's invited. And it was obvious that the Baltic states, that means Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia, were very interested in having Pope Francis come there. And that offers an opportunity for him to speak to some people that he normally doesn't really get to talk to. In particular, we think of Estonia, talk to people who really are not Catholic, or perhaps meet with youth, meet with diplomats, meet with people who are working in a church that's very different from the way it is in Rome, or perhaps even Ireland, where it's established and strong and has a history, but some places where it's struggling a bit, and Pope Francis can go there and give it just the right push.
As you just mentioned, Claire, the region has a troubled history, right? For generations, the people of the Baltics were persecuted for their faith. Now, today, the number of Catholics varies by country. You have many living in Lithuania and a smaller population in Estonia. So what will the message of Francis be? Like, how will he frame that message to speak to those different aspects of religion?
Well, this trip represents an opportunity in what is a very troubled and difficult time in Rome in terms of news surrounding the Vatican for Pope Francis to go out to the Baltic states and do what he does best, and that is promoting a message of welcoming, dialogue, encounter, and of course, mercy. These are for sure going to be talking points that are present in every Pope Francis speech that we've heard all over the world where he's been. And surely countries like these need this message very much because, as you were saying, Liz, they have endured a period where they were a persecuted church, where people were forced to be quiet about their faith. And having Pope Francis come there after John Paul II came, right as the Soviet troops were leaving, is a strong message that the church is still close.
Claire, really quickly, during the Holy Father's last papal trip to Ireland, the sex abuse scandal was a major topic. Now he's traveling to the Baltics. Do you think the scandals are going to be a big focus again?
Well, for us on the papal corps, there's no place far enough that Pope Francis can go where he will not be confronted with what is the sexual abuse crisis and cover-up. So we can expect that definitely, if it doesn't, it probably won't come up during his speeches, but journalists are going to ask him the question at the first chance they get.
What do you think the Russian reaction will likely be really quickly to the Pope's visit?
Well, it is the 100th anniversary since these countries gained their independence. And as we said, it was about 25 years since the Soviet Union drew back. So The Vatican and Russia have tried through the years to create a long relationship and a strong bond. No doubt Pope Francis will not try and jeopardize that. Regardless, the Kremlin will no doubt be keeping a close eye on this trip.
All right, Claire, thank you. Always a pleasure to speak with you, and we will speak with you post-trip just to get an update. Thank you.
Thank you.
And still to come on Currents News, a Catholic idea to use frequent flyer miles to help migrants. And I'll have the heartwarming story of a young girl with a new heart. We'll be right back. Some immigrant families will have the opportunity to see their loved ones again. Catholic Charities and Miles for Migrants have teamed up to donate airline miles to reunite families that have been separated at the border. Both organizations will work with local Catholic Charities agencies to identify those who need airfare assistance. A young girl in Illinois has gone viral after her prayers for a heart turned into a special visit from a celebrity. But Sophia Sanchez isn't letting her internet fame go to her head. Instead, she's trying to help a friend.
I miss my buddy on the How are you? How are you?
Theirs is a friendship few would understand, born of fear but fueled by positivity.
She kind of helped me because she went through this her whole life. So she inspired me to be stronger too.
My favorite part of the day is when Sophia would come up to my door knocking with her smile. She's always so positive.
At 11 years old, Sophia Sanchez came to Lurie Children's Hospital, her heart too weak to pump blood through her tiny body. Sophia needed a new heart, but her spirit was strong as she did the Kiki dance down the hospital hallway. She recorded a message to her idol, Drake. She often sang his song, God's Plan, as she prayed for her heart.
God's plan, God's plan.
God has a plan for me to get a heart, which I got my heart.
But even before Sophia got her heart, she got a huge surprise. Drake came to Lurie Children's.
Oh my God!
You asked me to come, I'm here.
It felt like a dream.
Her story went viral, and her heart surgeon, Dr. Carl Backer, says he loves the spotlight shining on Sophia because that light may brighten the lives of others waiting for an organ.
Other children that then have a life like this, I mean, that brings something, some sort of joy and something good comes out of something really bad.
Jessica knows the bad days. She's had a broken heart for 23 years.
I've been dealing with it my whole life. Since I was a baby, I have had 5 open heart surgeries.
She's hoping her next surgery is something she'll share with her dear friend Sophia, a transplant operation.
The day I get that call, I'm going to call Sophia right away, and she'll help me and tell me how it's going to be okay.
Just like she did today when she came back to Lurie to encourage her friend.
Oh, yeah. I love my friendship bracelet.
Thanks.
I won't take it off. It's so special to me.
How sweet are they? Sophia says she hopes to continue coming back to Lurie's Children's Hospital to help heart transplant patients. Those are now my 2 new favorite people ever. That is Currents News. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Liz Faublas. Set your DVR to record this program so that you never miss it because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.